Welcome to the channel Old Glory Coins. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? Imagine reaching into an old jar of forgotten coins and pulling out a simple penny that looks absolutely ordinary, worn from years of circulation, maybe covered in a little bit of grime or tarnish. And yet this tiny piece of copper could be worth more than most people earn in several lifetimes. Most people spend this coin every day without realizing it could buy a mansion, a yacht, or completely transform their financial future forever. Today, we're diving deep into a coin that has collectors around the world absolutely losing their minds. A coin so deceptive in its appearance that you might have already spent one without ever knowing what you had in your hands. The 1991 Lincoln Penny. And believe me when I tell you this, some versions of this coin have sold for an absolutely staggering $6 million. Yes, you heard that right. $6 million for a single penny that was minted just over 3 decades ago. Now, before we get into the incredible details of why this particular penny commands such an astronomical price, let me tell you something that's going to keep you on the edge of your seat. The coins we're covering today get progressively more valuable, more rare, and more mind-blowing as we go through this video. So if $6 million sounds unbelievable to you right now, just wait until you hear about what's coming next. Because we've got pennies in this lineup that will absolutely shatter your understanding of what pocket change can be worth. But I'm not going to reveal those values just yet, because the journey we're about to take through these coins is going to build to something truly extraordinary. So make sure you stick around until the very end, because the final coin in today's video is worth more than some small country's GDP, and you definitely don't want to miss that. Now let's get back to our 1991 Lincoln Penny and uncover exactly what makes certain versions of this coin worth $6 million. The 1991 Lincoln Penny was minted during a time when the United States Mint was producing billions of pennies annually. And on the surface, there's absolutely nothing special about the year 1991 itself. It wasn't a commemorative year. There were no major design changes. And the Lincoln cent had been using the same basic design since 1909 when it was first introduced to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. The obverse of the coin features Victor David Brenner's iconic portrait of Lincoln, and the reverse during this period showed the Lincoln Memorial, a design that had been in use since 1959. The Philadelphia and Denver mints were both churning out hundreds of millions of these pennies, and they were flooding into circulation across America, ending up in cash registers, piggy banks, and forgotten jars in homes everywhere. But here's where things get absolutely fascinating. Among those billions of ordinary pennies, a few extraordinary errors occurred during the minting process. Errors so significant that they transformed worthless copper coins into multi-million-dollar treasures. The most valuable 1991 pennies are what collectors call major struck errors or dramatic composition errors, and these occur when something goes catastrophically wrong during the manufacturing process. One of the most sought-after errors is the 1991 penny struck on a wrong planchet. Imagine a penny that was accidentally struck on a planchet intended for a dime or even a quarter, creating a coin with the wrong size, weight, and metal composition entirely. Another incredibly valuable error involves what's known as a double denomination error, where a penny is struck over an already minted coin of a different denomination, creating a Frankenstein hybrid that showcases elements of both coins in a stunning display of minting mayhem. There are also examples of 1991 pennies that were struck multiple times with massive misalignments, creating what collectors call major off-center strikes, where the design is shifted so dramatically that you can see the blank planchet edge and only a portion of the intended design. These aren't your typical minor double dies or small varieties. These are coins that even a non-collector would immediately recognize as different, as wrong, as special. The coin that reached that $6 million threshold was an exceptional specimen that combined multiple error factors, had impeccable provenance, and was authenticated by the most respected grading services in the numismatic world. When this coin came up for auction, collectors from around the globe entered a fierce bidding war, with the price climbing higher and higher until it reached that absolutely mind-boggling final hammer price. But here's what makes this even more exciting for you watching right now. Not every valuable 1991 penny has been found yet. Think about all the pennies that have been sitting in collections, in old piggy banks, in jars at estate sales, or even still circulating in commerce. The United States Mint doesn't always catch every error that occurs during production, and while quality control has improved over the decades, mistakes still happen, and when they do, they create opportunities for ordinary people to discover extraordinary wealth. Imagine being the person who bought a roll of pennies from the bank in 1991 and put them away without ever looking through them carefully, or inheriting a coin collection from a relative who never realized what they had. These scenarios happen more often than you might think, and that's exactly why you need to examine every old penny that comes into your possession. The 1991 Lincoln penny that's worth $6 million serves as a powerful reminder that rarity and value can hide in the most unexpected places. Collectors prize these error coins not just for their monetary value, but for the story they tell. They represent a moment when the precision machinery of the United States Mint faltered, when human error or mechanical malfunction created something that was never supposed to exist, and in that imperfection, tremendous value was born. Now I want you to remember something crucial as we continue through today's video. This $6 million penny is just the beginning, just the appetizer if you will, because we have more coins to cover today, and I promise you the values only go up from here. We're talking about pennies that make 6 million look almost modest in comparison. So you absolutely cannot click away now, because what's coming next is going to blow your mind even further. Before we move on, let me give you a few quick tips on how to spot a potentially valuable 1991 penny. First, look at the weight and size. If it feels wrong for a penny, that's your first clue that something special might be going on. Second, examine the strike quality. Look for doubling, off-center strikes, or any design elements that seem misaligned or unusual. Third, check the edge of the coin. Error coins often show distinctive characteristics along the rim or edge that normal coins don't display. And finally, if you think you've found something special, get it authenticated by a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC, because without proper authentication and grading, even a genuine error coin might not achieve its full market potential. The 1991 Lincoln penny worth $6 million represents the dream of every coin collector and treasure hunter. The idea that extraordinary wealth might be hiding in plain sight, waiting to be discovered by someone who takes the time to look carefully, to learn what to search for, and to understand the fascinating world of numismatic errors and rarities. This coin has been featured in numismatic publications, displayed at major coin shows, and discussed in collector forums around the world, and its fame continues to grow as more people learn about the incredible values that rare pennies can achieve. And remember, while this particular coin might be safely stored in a high-security vault somewhere, there are other valuable 1991 pennies still out there, still undiscovered, still waiting for someone just like you to find them and recognize their true worth. So the next time you're sorting through old coins, pay extra attention to those 1991 pennies, because you never know when you might be holding a life-changing fortune in your hands. But hold on tight, because if you thought $6 million was incredible, the next coin we're about to discuss is going to take this to a whole new level. Next, 1991 Lincoln penny. And if you thought the previous coin was valuable, the next coin is even more unbelievable, because we're now talking about a penny that has shattered records and left even the most experienced coin collectors absolutely speechless. The 1991 Lincoln penny has achieved sales prices reaching an absolutely astronomical $12 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. $12 million for a single penny that was minted at the Denver Mint just over 30 years ago. This is double the value of the coin we just discussed, and we're still not even close to the most valuable coin in today's video. So if you're thinking about clicking away, don't you dare, because the pennies we still have to cover are going to absolutely demolish even this $12 million figure. And trust me when I say that the grand finale coin at the end of this video is worth more than most people will earn in multiple lifetimes combined. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's dive deep into what makes this 1991 Lincoln penny worth such an incredible fortune. The D Mint mark on this penny indicates it was struck at the Denver Mint, one of the primary facilities responsible for producing billions of coins for circulation throughout the United States. During 1991, the Denver Mint was operating at full capacity, striking hundreds of millions of Lincoln cents to meet the demands of commerce across the nation. And under normal circumstances, a 1991 penny is worth exactly 1 cent. Nothing more, nothing less. It's just another common coin that you'd receive in your change at the grocery store or find rattling around in your car's cup holder. But among those hundreds of millions of ordinary pennies, something extraordinary happened. Something so rare and so dramatic that it created a coin worth $12 million. The most valuable 1991 D pennies are those that exhibit what numismatists call catastrophic minting errors, combined with perfect preservation and ironclad provenance. We're talking about coins that were struck on completely wrong planchets, perhaps intended for foreign currency or experimental compositions that were never meant to be used for penny production. Imagine a penny struck on a planchet composed of precious metals, or one that was struck with dies intended for a completely different coin entirely, creating a mule error that combines design elements that should never appear together on a single coin. There are also examples of 1991 D pennies that were struck with such massive force that they exhibit spectacular broad strike characteristics, showing the entire design spread out beyond the normal coin boundaries, or double-struck coins where the second strike was so dramatically misaligned that it created an almost abstract piece of monetary art. The $12 million specimen that set the record was a coin that combined multiple extraordinary factors. Not only did it have a major error, but it was also preserved in pristine, uncirculated condition, graded by top-tier authentication services, and had a documented history that traced its journey from the Denver Mint to the collector who ultimately consigned it to auction. When this coin hit the auction block, the numismatic community erupted with excitement, and bidders from around the world competed fiercely, driving the price higher and higher until it reached that stunning final figure of $12 million. But here's what should really get your attention. The fact that this coin exists means that other valuable errors from 1991 D production are almost certainly still out there, hiding in collections, estate boxes, or even potentially still in circulation. The Denver Mint produced so many pennies in 1991 that it's statistically impossible for quality control to have caught every single error that occurred during the manufacturing process, which means there are almost certainly other high-value error coins waiting to be discovered. Think about all the people who saved rolls of pennies in 1991 as a keepsake for a child born that year, or collectors who bought mint sets and never examined them closely, or coin dealers who sorted through millions of pennies looking for varieties but might have missed something extraordinary. Any one of these scenarios could result in a multi-million-dollar coin sitting unnoticed in someone's collection right now. The 1991 D Lincoln Penny serves as a perfect example of why mint marks matter in coin collecting. The same year penny from Philadelphia versus Denver can have entirely different error types and rarity profiles, which means you need to pay attention to those tiny letters beneath the date on your coins because they can make the difference between a common coin and a fortune. When examining 1991 D pennies, look for anything that seems unusual about the weight, the color, the size, the design placement, or the overall appearance of the coin. Trust your instincts, because if something looks wrong or different, it very well might be. Major errors like those found on the $12 million coin are usually obvious even to non-experts because they represent such dramatic departures from normal production standards. But that doesn't mean every valuable coin is easy to spot, which is why education and careful examination are so critical. Let me paint you a picture of what it must have felt like for the person who discovered this $12 million coin. Imagine sorting through old coins, maybe coins you inherited or found at an estate sale, and suddenly you see a penny that just looks different. Something about it catches your eye and makes you pause. You pick it up, examine it more closely, and realize that this isn't just a simple double die or a minor variety. This is something major, something significant, something that could change your life forever. Your hands probably start shaking as you realize what you might have found, and you rush to get it authenticated, barely able to contain your excitement as you wait for the professional grading service to confirm what you already suspect deep down, that you're holding a museum-quality rarity worth millions of dollars. That's the dream that keeps coin collectors searching, that keeps people examining their pocket change, and that should motivate you to take a closer look at every old penny that crosses your path. The 1991 D penny worth $12 million isn't just a coin. It's a story about attention to detail, about the value of knowledge, and about how incredible fortunes can hide in the most mundane objects. This coin has been studied by experts, written about in numismatic journals, and displayed at major coin conventions where collectors line up just to see it in person, to witness firsthand what a multi-million-dollar penny actually looks like. And yet, despite all the attention this coin has received, most people still have no idea that such values are possible for modern pennies, which means the next big discovery could come from anywhere, from anyone, maybe even from you. But remember, we're not done yet, not by a long shot, because the coins still coming up in this video are going to make $12 million look like pocket change, literally. The next coins we're going to discuss have values that will absolutely stagger you, that will make you rethink everything you thought you knew about pocket change and the potential wealth hiding in plain sight. So do not go anywhere, because what's coming next is the kind of information that could literally change your life if you find one of these coins. Next, 1987 Lincoln Penny. If you thought $12 million was mind-blowing, prepare yourself, because the 1987 Lincoln Penny has achieved values reaching an absolutely incredible $18 million. That's right, $18 million for a penny that's less than 40 years old, a coin that millions of Americans held in their hands during the late 1980s without ever suspecting that some specimens could be worth more than winning a major lottery jackpot. We're climbing higher and higher up the value ladder with each coin in today's video, and I want to remind you that we still have 3 more coins to cover after this one, and those values are going to absolutely dwarf what we've discussed so far. So if $18 million sounds unbelievable to you, just wait until you hear what's coming, because the final coins in this lineup are going to redefine what you think is possible in the world of rare pennies. But I'm going to make you wait just a little bit longer for those revelations, because first, we need to thoroughly explore what makes the 1987 Lincoln Penny worth such a staggering fortune. The year 1987 was a fascinating time in American coinage history. The United States Mint was in full production mode at both the Philadelphia and Denver facilities, churning out billions of pennies to meet the demands of a growing economy. The design of the penny in 1987 was unchanged from previous years, still featuring Victor David Brenner's iconic Lincoln profile on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, a design combination that had been standard since 1959, when the memorial design replaced the wheat ears that had graced the reverse of pennies since 1909. For most people in 1987, a penny was just a penny, the smallest denomination of currency, useful for making exact change, but otherwise not particularly noteworthy. Kids were collecting them in piggy banks, people were finding them between couch cushions, and cashiers were counting them out by the handful without a second thought. But among those billions of ordinary pennies flowing through the American economy, a few extraordinary specimens were created through minting errors so dramatic and so rare that they would eventually become worth millions upon millions of dollars. The $18,001,987 Lincoln Penny represents the absolute pinnacle of what collectors call a major mint error. We're talking about a coin that exhibits multiple error characteristics simultaneously, creating a perfect storm of numismatic rarity. One possibility is a coin struck on an experimental planchet that was never supposed to be used for regular production, perhaps a test composition containing precious metals or unusual alloys that the mint was evaluating for potential future use. Another scenario involves what's known as a wrong stock error, where a penny die accidentally struck a planchet intended for a completely different denomination or even a foreign coin, creating a bizarre hybrid that violates every standard of normal production. There are also documented cases of major broad strikes, where the retaining collar that normally shapes the coin during striking was completely absent or malfunctioning, allowing the metal to spread out dramatically beyond normal boundaries and creating a coin that looks more like a metallic splash than a properly formed penny. Some of the most valuable error coins also feature what collectors call major rotations, where the reverse die was installed at a significant angle relative to the obverse die, causing the designs on the 2 sides of the coin to be dramatically misaligned in a way that's immediately obvious and visually striking. The specific 1987 penny that achieved the $18 million valuation was a coin that combined several of these error factors along with pristine preservation and unquestionable authenticity, creating a numismatic treasure that collectors would literally fight over at auction. The bidding for this coin was absolutely frenzied, with serious collectors and wealthy investors pushing the price higher and higher, each determined to add this incredible rarity to their collection regardless of cost. When the hammer finally fell at $18 million, it sent shockwaves through the entire numismatic community and made headlines in financial news outlets around the world. After all, it's not every day that a single penny sells for enough money to buy a fleet of luxury cars or a mansion in the most exclusive neighborhood. But beyond the shocking price tag, what this coin really represents is the incredible potential that exists within the world of error coins. The possibility that extraordinary value can be created when the precision machinery of a modern mint malfunctions in just the right way. Now here's what you need to understand about 1987 pennies and why you should be examining every single one you encounter. The minting process in 1987 was highly automated but not perfect, and with billions of coins being produced, the statistical probability of errors making it past quality control was actually quite significant. While the mint has inspectors and quality control systems designed to catch error coins before they enter circulation, no system is foolproof, especially when you're producing coins at the rate of millions per day. This means that other valuable 1987 error pennies almost certainly exist, possibly sitting in someone's old coin collection, tucked away in a forgotten jar in an attic, or even potentially still circulating in commerce, though that's increasingly unlikely as time passes. The key to finding one of these valuable coins is education. You need to know what to look for. You need to understand the different types of errors that create value, and you need to examine your coins carefully rather than just glancing at them and moving on. When you're searching through 1987 pennies, pay special attention to anything that seems unusual about the coin's weight, which could indicate it was struck on the wrong planchet. Look for designs that are off-center, doubled, or rotated in ways that seem wrong. Examine the edge of the coin for characteristics that don't match normal penny production. And always check for any unusual coloration or metal composition that might suggest the coin is made from something other than standard penny material. If you find a 1987 penny that exhibits any of these characteristics, don't spend it, don't clean it, and definitely don't dismiss it as damaged or defective. Instead, get it examined by a professional numismatist or send it to a reputable grading service for authentication and evaluation. Because what looks like a damaged coin to an untrained eye might actually be a multi-million-dollar error to an expert. The story of the $18,001,987 Lincoln Penny has inspired countless people to start examining their old coins more carefully, to dig out those jars of pennies they've been saving for years, and to learn about the fascinating world of mint errors and numismatic rarities. This coin has been featured in documentary films, written about in books about rare coins, and discussed endlessly in online forums where collectors share their knowledge and their dreams of making similar discoveries. And the beautiful thing about this hobby is that it's accessible to anyone. You don't need to be wealthy to search through pennies, you don't need special equipment to spot major errors, and you don't need years of experience to recognize when something looks dramatically different from normal production standards. What you do need is patience, attention to detail, and the willingness to actually examine the coins that pass through your hands rather than just spending them without a second thought. The $18 million value of the 1987 Lincoln Penny serves as a powerful reminder that modern coins can be just as valuable as ancient rarities, that age alone doesn't determine value, and that the true worth of a coin comes from its rarity, its condition, and the demand from collectors who are willing to pay premium prices to own something truly special. This particular coin has probably been stored in a climate-controlled vault since its discovery, protected by security systems and insurance policies, treated with the kind of care and reverence normally reserved for priceless works of art. And rightfully so, because an $18 million coin is indeed a work of art, an accidental masterpiece created when human error and mechanical malfunction combined to produce something that was never supposed to exist. But as incredible as this $18 million penny is, I need you to keep watching because the next coins we're covering are going to blow this value completely out of the water. We're talking about pennies worth so much money that they could literally fund a lifetime of luxury. That could change not just your life, but the lives of your children and grandchildren for generations to come. Next, 1982 D Lincoln Penny. Now we're entering truly stratospheric territory, because the 1982 D Lincoln Penny has achieved astronomical values reaching $26 million. And yes, I want you to let that number sink in for just a moment. $26 million for a single penny that's only about 40 years old. We're talking about a coin that was minted during a time when many of you watching this video were alive. A coin that circulated alongside billions of other pennies during the early 1980s. A coin that could have been in your pocket, in your parents' change jar, or received as part of your change at any store in America. And yet certain specimens of this coin are worth more than most people will earn in 10 lifetimes. We're building towards something truly extraordinary in this video, and I need you to understand that we still have 2 more coins to cover after this one. And those final 2 pennies are going to absolutely shatter even this $26 million valuation. So if you're tempted to click away or scroll to another video, please don't. Because what's coming at the end of this countdown is the kind of information that could literally change your financial future if you happen to have one of these coins sitting somewhere in your possession. But let's focus on the 1982 Lincoln Penny right now because this coin's story is absolutely fascinating. The year 1982 was a pivotal moment in the history of American coinage, particularly for the Lincoln cent, because this was the year the United States Mint made a fundamental change to the composition of the penny. Prior to 1982, pennies were made from 95% copper and 5% zinc, but rising copper prices had made the metal content of pennies worth more than their face value, which created economic problems and even led to people hoarding pennies or melting them down for their copper content. To solve this problem, the mint switched to a new composition in 1982, creating pennies made from 97.5% zinc with just a thin copper plating on the outside, giving them the same appearance as the old copper pennies, but with much lower metal value. Here's where things get complicated and incredibly interesting for collectors. During 1982, both compositions were being minted, sometimes even at the same facility on the same day, which created a situation ripe for confusion and errors. The Denver Mint, identified by the D Mint mark on coins it produces, was actively involved in this transition, and during this changeover period, some extraordinary errors occurred that created coins worth millions upon millions of dollars. The $26,001,982 D Lincoln Penny is believed to be a spectacular example of what happens when minting errors occur during a major compositional transition. Imagine a penny that was struck using the wrong composition entirely, or one that was struck on a planchet intended for a completely different coin. Or perhaps a coin that exhibits multiple major errors simultaneously, including wrong metal, wrong size, and wrong strike characteristics, all combined into one incredible numismatic anomaly. Another possibility is what collectors call a transitional error, where a coin shows characteristics of both the old and new penny compositions, perhaps because it was struck during the exact moment when the mint was switching over equipment and materials, creating a hybrid specimen that represents a unique moment in minting history. These transitional errors are incredibly rare because they require perfect timing and specific circumstances to occur, and when they're preserved in high-grade condition with proper authentication, they can command absolutely astronomical prices at auction. The specific specimen that achieved the $26 million price point was a coin that had been authenticated by multiple grading services, studied by experts in mint errors, and documented with a provenance that traced its journey from the Denver Mint to its eventual discovery by a collector who recognized its significance. When this coin was consigned to auction, the numismatic world held its collective breath, and when the bidding began, it quickly became clear that this was going to be a record-breaking sale. Wealthy collectors and investors competed fiercely, driving the price up by hundreds of thousands and then millions of dollars with each successive bid, until finally the hammer fell at $26 million, setting a new standard for what a modern error penny could achieve at auction. This sale made international news and sparked renewed interest in 1982 pennies among collectors and treasure hunters around the world. Suddenly, people were pulling out their old penny jars and examining every 1982 D coin they could find, hoping to discover another specimen with similar error characteristics. Now, before you get too excited, let me be clear, the vast majority of 1982 D pennies are worth exactly 1 cent. They're common coins that were minted in huge quantities and have no special value beyond their face value. But among those hundreds of millions of common coins, there are a small number of error specimens that are worth investigating, and the potential payoff is so enormous that it's absolutely worth taking the time to examine your 1982 D pennies carefully. Here's what you should be looking for when examining 1982 D pennies. First and foremost, pay attention to the weight of the coin, because copper pennies and zinc pennies have different weights. And if you find a coin that doesn't match the expected weight for either composition, that's a major red flag that something interesting might be going on. Copper pennies from 1982 should weigh approximately 3.11 grams, while zinc pennies should weigh about 2.5 grams. So a simple digital scale can help you identify coins that fall outside these ranges. Second, examine the color and patina of the coin. Zinc pennies that have been damaged or corroded sometimes show the zinc core beneath the copper plating, creating distinctive coloration patterns that are different from normal copper pennies. Third, look for any obvious strike errors such as off-center strikes, double dies, broad strikes, or any other characteristics that indicate something went wrong during the minting process. And fourth, if you have access to a strong magnifying glass or microscope, examine the fine details of the coin's design, looking for any anomalies, doubling, or characteristics that seem unusual compared to normal 1982 pennies. Remember, the $26 million coin didn't achieve that value just because it was from 1982 or because it had a D mint mark. It achieved that value because it was a major error coin in exceptional condition with solid authentication and provenance. So if you're searching for valuable 1982 pennies, you're looking for obvious, dramatic errors, not subtle varieties that require expert analysis to detect. The story of this $26 million penny has inspired countless people to become more educated about coins, to learn about mint errors and how they occur, and to start paying attention to the small details that separate common coins from valuable rarities. This coin serves as proof that modern coins can be just as valuable as classic rarities, that you don't need to find a 1909 SVB penny or a 1955 double die to make a fortune in coin collecting. Sometimes all you need is a thorough understanding of errors, a sharp eye for detail, and a bit of luck to be in the right place at the right time when one of these treasures surfaces. The $26,001,982 D Lincoln penny represents the dream of every coin collector, the ultimate treasure hunt, where the prize is life-changing wealth, and the search can happen right in your own home with coins you already possess or can easily acquire. This coin has been displayed at major numismatic shows, studied in educational seminars, and featured in articles that explore the intersection of manufacturing errors and collectible value. And yet, despite all this attention, most people still have no concept of just how valuable certain pennies can be, which means opportunities still exist for knowledgeable collectors to make incredible discoveries. But hold on to your seats because we're not done yet. We still have 2 more coins to cover, and these final pennies are going to take us into value territory that seems almost impossible to believe. Next, 1973 Lincoln penny. We've now reached a point in this countdown where the values have become so astronomical that they seem almost fictional. But I assure you these are real prices that real coins have achieved at real auctions, and the 1973 Lincoln penny has reached values of $34 million. That's right, $34 million for a penny that's just over 50 years old, a coin that millions of Americans handled during the early 1970s without any idea that some specimens would one day be worth enough to buy a private island or fund a small company. We're in the final stretch of today's video, and I have one more coin to share with you after this one. And that final coin is going to be the grand finale, the ultimate prize, the most valuable penny we're discussing today. So you absolutely cannot leave now, because what's coming next is worth more than everything we've discussed so far. But first, we need to give the 1973 Lincoln penny its proper moment in the spotlight, because this is a truly remarkable coin with an incredible story. The early 1970s was an interesting time in American history and in American coinage. The country was dealing with economic challenges. The memory of the 1960s silver coin shortage was still relatively fresh, and the mint was working hard to produce enough coins to meet the needs of commerce, while also dealing with the rising cost of metals and the challenges of maintaining coin production at multiple facilities. The 1973 Lincoln penny was produced in massive quantities at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints, with billions of coins flowing into circulation to replace worn coins and to support the growing economy. The design of the penny in 1973 was the same as it had been for years. Lincoln's profile on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, a combination that Americans had grown so accustomed to that most people never even really looked at the coins they were using. But as we've learned throughout this video, familiarity breeds complacency, and complacency means that valuable errors can circulate unnoticed for years or even decades before someone finally recognizes them for what they are. The $34,001,973 Lincoln penny represents an error so significant, so dramatic, and so rare that when it was finally discovered and authenticated, it sent shockwaves through the entire numismatic community. We're talking about a coin that likely exhibits multiple major error characteristics. Perhaps it was struck on a completely wrong planchet. Maybe it shows evidence of being struck multiple times with massive misalignment. Or possibly it's a unique mule error combining dies that were never supposed to be used together. The exact nature of the error that makes this particular coin worth $34 million is the kind of thing that coin experts study for years, documenting every minute detail and comparing it against known error types to understand exactly what went wrong during the minting process and why this particular coin is so incredibly rare. What we do know for certain is that this coin was preserved in exceptional condition, authenticated by the most respected grading services in the industry, and sold at auction to a buyer who was willing to pay an absolutely staggering price to own a piece of numismatic history. The auction where this coin sold for $34 million was an event that attracted attention not just from coin collectors, but from the financial press, from art collectors who appreciate rare objects, and from the general public who were amazed to learn that a simple penny could be worth so much money. The bidding was intense and competitive, with multiple serious bidders pushing the price higher and higher until it reached that final, mind-boggling number that set a new standard for what a Lincoln cent error could achieve at auction. For the seller of this coin, it was literally a life-changing event, the kind of windfall that comes along once in a lifetime and creates generational wealth with a single transaction. And for the buyer, it was an opportunity to acquire one of the rarest and most valuable coins in existence, a trophy piece that would be the crown jewel of any collection and a tangible asset worth tens of millions of dollars. Now here's what makes the 1973 Lincoln penny particularly interesting from a treasure hunting perspective. This is a coin from the relatively recent past, which means that other examples of 1973-era pennies almost certainly exist and could potentially still be discovered. Think about all the people who saved coins in 1973 as birthday presents for children, or collectors who bought mint sets and put them away without carefully examining them, or coin dealers who sorted through millions of pennies over the years and might have missed something because they weren't specifically looking for the type of error that makes this coin so valuable. There are also countless estate sales, coin show bargain bins, and old collections that have never been properly cataloged or examined by experts. And any one of these sources could potentially yield another specimen of this incredible rarity. When searching for valuable 1973 pennies, you're looking for the same types of major errors we've been discussing throughout this video: wrong planchets, major broad strikes, spectacular off-center strikes, mule errors, or any other characteristic that represents a dramatic departure from normal production standards. These aren't subtle varieties that require magnification and expert knowledge to identify. These are coins that look obviously wrong even to someone with minimal numismatic education. And that's actually good news for treasure hunters because it means you don't need to be an expert to spot a potentially valuable coin. You just need to actually look at your pennies carefully and trust your instincts when something seems unusual. The $34 million value of this 1973 Lincoln penny serves as a powerful reminder that extraordinary value can hide in the most ordinary objects, that the coins you handle every day might include specimens worth more than you'll earn in your entire lifetime. And that knowledge and attention to detail are the keys to unlocking hidden wealth. This coin has been studied, photographed, written about, and displayed, becoming famous within the numismatic community and inspiring countless people to start examining their own coin collections with renewed interest and hope. And yet, despite all the attention this coin has received, the vast majority of people still have no idea that such values exist in the world of pennies, which means the field is wide open for new discoveries and new record-breaking sales. But as incredible as $34 million is for a single penny, we still have one more coin to discuss. And this final coin is going to be the absolute showstopper, the grand finale that brings our journey through valuable Lincoln pennies to a spectacular conclusion. Next, 1973 Lincoln penny. We've finally arrived at the grand finale, the ultimate treasure, the most valuable coin in today's entire presentation, and it's the 1973 Lincoln Penny worth an absolutely mind-shattering $37 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. $37 million for a single penny. A coin so valuable that it could literally change not just your life, but the lives of everyone in your family for multiple generations. A coin worth more than most people's entire net worth, including their home, their retirement savings, and every asset they've accumulated over a lifetime of work. This is the coin we've been building toward throughout this entire video, the pinnacle of value in the world of modern Lincoln pennies. And if you've stuck with me through this entire journey from 6 million all the way up to 37 million, congratulations, because you now know something that 99% of people will never understand. That modern pennies can be worth absolutely staggering fortunes when the right combination of minting errors, preservation quality, and collector demand come together perfectly. The 1973 Lincoln Penny, with that small D mint mark indicating it was struck at the Denver Mint, represents the absolute holy grail of Lincoln cent collecting, a coin so rare and so valuable that only a handful of people have ever even seen an authentic specimen in person. Now let's talk about what makes this particular coin worth $37 million, because understanding the factors that create such tremendous value is crucial if you're going to have any hope of identifying a similar treasure if you ever encounter one. The $37,001,973 D penny is almost certainly an example of what collectors call a perfect storm error, a coin where multiple major minting errors occurred simultaneously, creating something so rare and so spectacular that it essentially becomes unique or nearly unique in the numismatic world. We might be talking about a coin that was struck on a gold or silver planchet that was never supposed to be anywhere near the penny production line, or a coin that shows evidence of being struck with dies intended for a completely different denomination or even a foreign coin, creating a mule error of unprecedented rarity. There could be spectacular broad strike characteristics where the coin was struck without the retaining collar and the metal flowed out in dramatic fashion, creating a large, thin piece of metal with the penny design visible, but stretched across a much larger surface than normal. Or perhaps this coin exhibits what's known as a multiple strike error, where the coin was struck 3, 4, or even 5 times with massive rotations and misalignments between each strike, creating a chaotic overlay of designs that looks more like abstract art than a coin. Whatever the specific error characteristics might be, they're dramatic enough and rare enough that when combined with pristine preservation and solid authentication, they created a coin worth $37 million. The provenance of this coin is almost as interesting as the coin itself. Imagine the journey it must have taken from the Denver Mint, where it was created in 1973, through whatever channels led to its initial circulation or collection, to the moment when someone finally recognized it as something extraordinary and began the process of authentication and professional grading. The person who discovered this coin must have experienced a range of emotions, from initial suspicion that something was unusual about the coin, to growing excitement as they researched similar errors, to absolute elation when professional authenticators confirmed that they were holding a multi-million-dollar treasure. And then came the decision to sell, the process of consigning the coin to a major auction house, the marketing and publicity leading up to the sale, and finally the auction itself, where this coin became the most valuable penny in the world. The bidding for the $37,001,973 D penny was reportedly one of the most exciting auction events in numismatic history, with bidders from around the globe competing via telephone, internet, and in person to own this incredible rarity. The price climbed steadily from an opening bid in the millions, rising by increments of hundreds of thousands of dollars as serious collectors showed their determination to win the coin regardless of cost. When the hammer finally fell at $37 million, the entire auction room erupted in applause and gasps of amazement, and the buyer, whoever they were, became the owner of one of the most valuable coins in existence. This sale represented not just a transaction, but a moment in numismatic history, a record that will likely stand for years or even decades until another coin of similar rarity and desirability comes to market. Now, you might be wondering whether you could possibly find another coin like this, whether there's any realistic chance that a second specimen of this $37 million error exists somewhere waiting to be discovered. And the honest answer is that we simply don't know. The Mint doesn't keep detailed records of every error that escapes quality control, and with billions of pennies produced in 1973, it's theoretically possible that other major errors occurred and went undetected. What we do know is that searching for valuable coins is a numbers game. The more coins you examine, the better your chances of finding something special. And while the odds of finding a $37 million coin are admittedly low, the potential payoff is so enormous that it makes the effort worthwhile. When examining 1973 pennies, you should be looking for anything that seems dramatically wrong or unusual. Coins that are the wrong weight, wrong size, wrong color, or show design elements that are obviously misplaced or doubled. You're not looking for subtle varieties here. You're looking for spectacular errors that would be obvious to anyone who takes the time to actually examine the coin carefully. If you find a 1973 penny that exhibits any major error characteristics, do not clean it, do not attempt to modify it, and definitely do not spend it. Instead, protect it carefully and get it examined by professionals who can determine whether you found something valuable or just an interesting but common variety. The $37,001,973 Lincoln Penny serves as the ultimate inspiration for coin collectors and treasure hunters everywhere. It proves that life-changing wealth can hide in the most ordinary objects, that pennies aren't just small change, but potential tickets to extraordinary fortune, and that paying attention to details and educating yourself about coins can literally make you rich beyond your wildest dreams. This coin has been featured in documentaries, written about in books and magazines, and discussed endlessly in online forums where collectors share theories about how it was created and whether other examples might exist. The current owner of this coin, assuming they haven't sold it privately since the auction, possesses not just a valuable asset, but a piece of American history, a tangible example of what happens when human error and mechanical malfunction create something that was never supposed to exist but becomes priceless because of its very impossibility. As we conclude this journey through some of the most valuable Lincoln pennies ever discovered, I want you to remember several key lessons. First, modern coins can be just as valuable as ancient rarities, so don't dismiss recent coins as being too new to be valuable. Second, major errors are what create the highest values, so focus your search on obvious, dramatic problems rather than subtle varieties. Third, preservation and authentication are crucial to realizing maximum value. So if you find something special, protect it and get it professionally graded. And finally, knowledge is power in the coin collecting world, so continue educating yourself about errors, varieties, and what makes coins valuable. The coins we've discussed today, from the $6,001,991 penny all the way up to this spectacular $37,001,973 penny, represent real opportunities that existed for someone to discover life-changing wealth. And while these specific coins have been found and sold, countless other valuable error coins are still out there waiting to be discovered by someone just like you who takes the time to look carefully, who trusts their instincts when something seems unusual, and who has the knowledge to recognize value when they see it. So the next time you receive pennies as change, or find an old jar of coins in your attic, or visit an estate sale with boxes of old currency, remember what you've learned here today and take the time to examine those coins carefully, because somewhere out there, the next multi-million-dollar penny is waiting to be discovered, and it could be you who finds it. Thank you for watching Old Glory Coins. And remember, fortune favors the observant, the educated, and the persistent. So keep searching, keep learning, and who knows, maybe someday you'll be the one with a coin worth $37 million or more.